Okay, thank you very much for joining me on this webinar. We are going to talk about stress. And I get excited when I talk about stress, but I'm going to try and see if I can be calmer for you today. It's such a great excitement for me to be with you. Now, if you can hear me, I would like you to write in your panel. I'd like you to write yes if you can hear me. And I'd like you, of course, to dedicate this about half hour just for you to internalize, to repeat, to get it deep within you that stress should not be a part of your life, that you should have joy, you should have happiness, you should have passion. But stress is not inevitable. You see, you have to have difficulties in your life, but you don't have to have stress. Okay? So that's what my goal is for you here today. And I want to review the definition of stress with you. I want to review the fact that stress is the response. So over the next few weeks, we're going to learn the response. Stress is the response that you make whenever you have trouble in your life. Let's simplify it like that. And the response that we are after is not so much the response of, being tense and anxious, but physiological responses that can affect your health. So, what are some of the responses? I want to sort of review that with you today. Some of the responses that you will have would be one. Okay, listen carefully now. This is the physiology. Whenever you have a stressor in your life, the first thing that's going to happen to you is that impulses are going to go to the premotor area of your brain, to the premotor area of your brain. And when it goes there, it sends impulses down to all your muscles and tell your muscles to tense. So that's just one part of stress. The other thing that's happening when you find that you're under stress is that the impulses will go to a part of the brain that we call the amygdala and the limbic system. That part of the brain controls your emotions. So, okay, stay with me now. If you really want to beat stress, it's important, don't you think, for you to learn about it? So you have the muscles tightening, and now you have impulses going to the limbic system, to the amygdala, and it will produce in your brain, in your mind, in your body, it will produce fear and anger. In other words, the emotions that are kind of corresponding to the difficult situations that you find stressful. So we're talking today about the response. Stress is the response. So you have the muscle and now you have emotions. And so sometimes you might be at work, okay? Or you might be at home having difficult problems. And you just find that you're anxious, you're feeling fearful. Sometimes you're feeling angry. Sometimes you're feeling low and disappointed. Sometimes you feel annoyed, and it's a part of stress. And it's because the emotional part of the brain is stimulated to produce those kinds of emotions. So that's another part of stress, okay? Are you with me? If you're with me, say yeah. Just write yeah for me. Okay. And the other thing I want to emphasize, quite apart from the fact that you are going to have tight muscles and negative emotions from stress, the other thing, when an impulse of stress, when you see something difficult and it hits the brain, what happens? An impulse will go to a part of the brain called the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is the part of the brain that is the master gland of the brain. Okay, you're learning this stuff so that you can master it. Okay, the master gland of the brain, and the master gland of the brain will cause impulses to go to the pituitary gland and other glands in the body. And what's the result? That's what really is the bottom line, isn't it? When you get the hypothalamus involved, what happens? You get the secretion of adrenaline, and you get the secretion of cortisol. So those are the stress hormones, the major ones. There are other hormones, other cytokines that are released as well. But those are the ones that are causing you the trouble. Now let's look at what these do in your body, okay? So you're under stress. There you are, thinking that you're just feeling tense. And what's happening? You're having hormones secreted. And the hormones, let's take one of them, the cortisol, at first. And what does the cortisol do? The cortisol hormone will cause you to have a deposit of fat on the inside of your viscera, as it were, around your heart, around your upper abdomen. It will encourage the deposit of fat in that area. And it will also encourage the rising up of what? Insulin. So you get hyperinsulinism. So you have the deposit of fat and you have insulin in your body. And when you have hyperinsulinism, it's one stage or two, depending on how bad it is, before you get diabetes. So you have, let's say, blood sugar problems from that. So cortisol can do that. In addition to that, cortisol will affect the brain itself and will cause a decrease in the renewing of the cells of the brain. You know, that is decreased. So this is really important if you're a manager. We have found that if you're a manager or CEO, the effect of stress financially is huge. And this is basically because it affects neurogenesis and it affects decision making. So from your point of view, you have learned that it affects your brain. So let's review then the cortisol, and starting then with the fact that you get tense. And then after tension, you get emotional sort of surges in your body. And then the third thing that you get is that the hormone of cortisol is secreted. And cortisol affects the brain. It also affects the fat in your body, you see, and it affects hyperinsulinism, leading you down the path to diabetes, you see. So that's enough reason for you to stick around, because I'm going to show you how to deal with that stress. But I want you to learn a little bit more. After all, you're with me here today, and I want you to learn how to beat the stress in your life. So the other thing I want you to learn is that quite apart from cortisol, adrenaline is secreted. And when adrenaline is secreted on the stress, guess what happens? Adrenaline goes down to what we call the actual sympathetic nervous system, and it stimulates that. So you feel sort of wired, you feel hyper, you know. That's one thing that it does. And it actually constricts the blood vessels. It causes the lumen. Let's say this is the lumen of the blood vessels. It causes it to go smaller. And in addition to that, the adrenaline that is secreted on when you're stressed, it will also cause the white blood cells that circulate. You see, in the lumen of the body, white blood cells are circulating, and it increases the number and it makes them so sticky. Also does that to the red blood cells. So the white blood cells and the red blood cells increase in number and they become sticky. You see what's happening now? Okay, let's pause. See what's happening. On the stress, the lumen is decreased, the number of cells increase, and it's making them sticky. And when it makes them sticky, guess what happens? It's easy for a clot to form. But a clot does not form usually unless you have a damage to the inside, to the walls of the blood vessel. We call it endothelium dysfunction. And when that happens, then you have the total setup for a clot or a plaque to form. So what happens here is that the adrenaline also causes damage to the inside of the blood vessels. So there you've got it then. You have a setup for heart disease, you know, and there's no wonder why prolonged stress at work, day after day, where you have the adrenaline high and secreted and doing this damage, we know that it tends to be a prelude. It tends to lead to myocardial infarction or heart attacks. So that's what you've got to watch if you find that you're under stress. It's important for you to recognize that stress has clinical implications, significant implications on your heart, and it also has implications on your immune system. Now, let me continue a little bit. Come on, don't get bored. Come on. Say yeah, and this is exciting stuff because you're going to learn to beat it in just a minute. Okay, so what you have here then is that adrenaline will also cause the secretion or the increase in cholesterol. Whenever you're stressed, there's an increase in your cholesterol, and there's an increase in what we call free fatty acids in the blood. So you have all these things in your blood increasing, making the heart attack come more quickly and more severe. That's why one study that I heard about proved that, or showed that when you have a heart attack, if it is preceded by stress, stress isn't the only thing that can cause or precede a heart attack, but if your heart attack is preceded by stress, they tend to be 91% fatal. This is an old study that showed that stress has an impact on the severity of a heart attack. And the last thing, remember, stress itself can constrict muscles, and it can make the blood vessels themselves so stiff and so small that it can temporarily shut off the blood from the heart, and it can cause cardiomyopathy, which means heart disease. But that very often is reversible. So are you with me now? You're into the arena where stress can actually affect the heart. So we're talking today about how stress affects the heart. Now, let me tell you what you can do, okay? And what you can do is in the definition of stress that we have covered, okay? We've covered the definition of stress in the sense that if you have difficulties in your life, if your girlfriend fell in love with the piano player and ran off with him, that's stressful. But you don't have to suffer from stress. You see, all these effects that stress will have on your brain, causing a decrease in your ability to think and to concentrate, all the effects that it will have on your heart, on your blood vessels, it doesn't have to do that. You don't have to go to the response stage. That's where stress is the response. You don't have to go there. You can stop the stress and turn the stressor, actually, before it turns into stress, you can stop it dead in its tracks. And that's what I'd like to review with you now in the next few minutes, okay? I'd like you to review the definition. What is stress? What is stress? Okay, stress is the response. But before you get to the last stage of the response, you look at what is causing the stress. So stress is the response of an individual, or a response that you make within your body, even in your behavior. But we're more concerned with your body and your mind and your emotions. Stress is that kind of response that you make when you perceive. So you have to perceive that the difficulties that you're facing, so you have to have difficulties that you're facing, are far beyond your ability to cope. So if you're having difficulties, your girlfriend has run off, or your boyfriend is giving you a hard time, or you're having difficulties financially, or your boss is really a bad person, you think, and giving you insensitive person, if that's your stressor, you don't have to make it so that you respond with these negative heart and brain effects. What you do, you learn to deal with the stressors, and then you learn to perceive. And that's what we're going to end with today. We're going to show you how to deal with the stressors. Remember, a stressor is an event or a situation that is difficult in your life. A stressor has the potential to stimulate the release of cortisol and adrenaline and give you the effects that we talked about. That's a stressor. So when you have a stressor, like here comes the boss with a frown on her face, for example, when you see that happening, you say, wow, this is the stressor. And you do certain things to prepare your body so that it does not go into stress. That's one thing. And we'll show you what you can do. The second thing you do, you use the definition of stress, that you don't suffer from stress unless you perceive that you can't handle it. And we are wonderfully made. And I want to turn you on today to really perceive that you have the power in you to almost handle anything. And I want you to do a historical, appreciative analysis. Look at your life so far. You've handled a lot of difficult things. So don't let the fact that the boss has fired you, don't let that be a distressing thing. That might be a blessing. Turn it into a blessing. So let nothing permit you to accept the fact that you can't handle this. That's your perception. And therefore you must go into the secretion of adrenaline and cortisol and cause damage to your internal part of the blood vessels and get heart disease. Don't you do that, because there is an alternative. So the alternative is, whenever you see the stressor coming, the first thing you do, you tense. Take a deep breath. Tense. Take a deep breath in through your nose. And as you breathe out, you feel a wave of calm going down into your body. And you say, calm body and calm mind. And the second thing you do, you look the trouble right in the face. You say, oh my gosh, I'm really late. The traffic is terrible, but I can handle that. And you plan to handle it. You see yourself getting to your appointment. You use anticipation, you see. You see yourself getting to your appointment and handling it really well. Okay, that's what you do. And so you do not become then a victim of the problems that are outside. you actually become a partner of the power that you have within, and that is far exceeds what's going on. As they say, what is inside you, the power that you have to deal with the problems of your life, that power, allows the other things outside to pale in significance. Pale, no matter what it is, you can handle it. And I want to reintroduce you to the phrase, say it many times this week, this weekend coming up, whatever. You say, I can handle that. I can handle that. So this then is the process for stress. The process for you to handle stress is that, one, you are going to look at the difficulties. Don't just say, oh my gosh, I'm stressed. You piece out your imperfections, as it were. That's the poet. I like poetry. Piece out your imperfections with your thoughts. Into 1,000 parts divide your problems. That's kind of according to the poem. Are you with me? Okay. So you look not globally at what's happening to you, but you say, oh my gosh, what's causing me to feel a little tense now? What is this difficulty about? One, geez, I don't have an answer about the job that I applied to, and I'm getting a little anxious. Number two, my husband is in a real terrible mood, and he walked out this morning without even saying he's going. And whatever the problems are, I'm just eliminating some things. I have a daughter that did exams, and she could say, well, my exams, oh, I don't know whether I pass or fail, or that sort of thing. So whatever is the source of your stressor, look at it. And when you name the culprit, the power of it will diminish. So that's the first thing you do. The second thing, you say, I can handle that. And then the third thing you do something to decrease. In other words, you prepare your body. You do to your body the opposite of what the stressor would do to you if you let it pass, if you perceive it. So immediately, here is the exercise that will make you a champion of stress, okay? The first thing you do is, after you name the culprit, and after you affirm that I can handle that, after you affirm that, the main thing you do is you say, okay, here comes the stressor, you tense. So your response to a stressor should be T, you tense. And then as you tense, remember, always breathe. You take a deep breath in through your nose and you hold it. So you tense, breathe in through your nose, and you hold the tension. And then you relax and allow the relaxation to flow through your body and the tension to flow out. Okay, so that's what you do. And then you inwardly sweep the tension. Just pretend that it's flowing out of your body as you continue to breathe in. Hold it, always hold it. And as you breathe out, let go and let the tension go. And inwardly sweep the tension out of your body. And then the last step is a mantra which I'll give you. You want to focus on your arms and on your fingers. And you want to say, my arms and fingers are heavy and warm. That is reintroducing the blood flow into the arms and the fingers that tend to go away whenever you're under stress. So you're physiologically reinstating harmony in your body so that the hormonal disturbance will be at least or diminished, if not eliminated. Okay, and that's how you beat stress. There are other more detailed ways to beat stress that we'll talk about as we go along, but here it is. let's summarize what we've covered, because I know you're busy. Okay, we've covered the fact that stress is not just a superficial response. Stress goes into the chemistry of the body and affects the heart, and it affects the brain, and it can affect your blood sugar and your blood flow and your propensity to develop diabetes. Stress can do that. And what it does that through two hormones, cortisol and adrenaline. And what you can do, and that's the glorious, exciting part of it, you don't have to suffer. As soon as the thing, you're beginning to feel a little stress, you peace out and say, what's causing me stress? Then you say, I can handle that. And then you apply the exercise, which is trim. You trim the stress away. Okay, do that with me. You trim the stress away. Trim it away from your body. So here's what you do. You tense, T, take a deep breath. Breathing is the basic rhythm of life. Deep breath, hold it, and as you breathe out, you relax. And then you inwardly sweep the tension out, and you end. My arms and legs are heavy and warm as you imagine the circulation going into your arms and legs. Well, I hope that you'll never, ever be stressed out again. Don't. You don't have to. You're wonderfully made with the power to overcome stress. I hope that's helpful. And I want you to make sure that you practice these exercises, okay? Really practice and practice and practice. And the exercise is trim. That will help you to remember. You tense your body. R, you relax. And I, you inwardly sweep the tension or imagine the tension draining out. And M, you say, my arms and fingers are heavy and warm as you feel the blood flowing into them, the blood which warms the fingers. And the heaviness is the relaxation. So that's what you do. And this will reverse the stress response. So I want you to reverse the stress response. Now, before you dash off, I would like you to consider the fact that I've already offered you a lot of value here. This is the exercise that I teach the doctors, the exercise I teach all over the world, and I've given it to you free, and I want you to practice it because we need to create a stress-free world. So I hope you find this very valuable, and I would like you to go a little bit further. I'd like you to order the Stress Survival Kit. It has a great value of over $200, but I've offered it to you today for $47. And it comprises, it's a valuable tool that's going to help you decrease your chances of getting sick, because stress also depresses the immune system, which we can talk about on another in another class. So I would like you to please order the best tips in the world. You get the gift of excellence, which will take you into the arena of excellence and show you how to be an excellent performer and how to make money. I want you to get that. And that's not all you get. The gift of excellence is a captivating, passionate, practical tool that you will find useful in helping you to solve your problems and reach for your goals. And with that, you also get the 30 videos, one every day, which will drip on you and give you not only inspiration and uplifting feelings, but it will give you skills that will help you to manage your life, and it will actually change your life. I've got so many letters. I have one woman who says, I'm not the same person. I don't get as obsessed from these things. More than 1 million people have responded to that. So I want you to get that 30 days, and you get that with the stress survival kit, and you also get the another exercise, another lecture that you can listen to in your car, stress and performance, which will help you to be a wonderful performer, and you will be better lover, better father, mother, better friend, and of course, you will be better at work. You will be able to perform better. And so your rewards will be greater. So get the stress survival kit. I'll leave it up for a while. And I hope I've offered you some value today. And I would like to wish you a wonderful, a really wonderful life, a beautiful life with lots of happiness and relaxation. And remember, I can handle that. See you again next week, same time.